Welcome to Transformative Principal, where you learn how to be a leader and not just a manager of a to-do list. I am your host, Jethro Jones. You can find me on Twitter at Jethro Jones. Your to-do list is a hungry monster that is never satisfied. For the last year and a half, I've helped principals get awards, get promoted, and find the time to do the work that really matters. I recently opened a new mastermind slot. Schedule a call with me and let's overcome the stressed and isolated principal position together. Go to the show notes for this episode at transformativeprincipal.org and click Schedule a Call with Jethro. Transformative Principal, episode 218. Man, we're just flying along here. Thanks so much for listening to Transformative Principal. I really do appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who has left a review or said something nice about the podcast on social media. It really means a lot to me, and I read every single one of those, and I just really appreciate you doing that. In this interview, we're going to talk about the challenges of becoming a school administrator and some of the frustrations that go along with that, and then talk about defining your strengths. So pretty good stuff, and I hope you enjoy this interview with Dan Kreiness. I do want to talk a little bit about the aspiring administrator aspect of your life right now, because what I hear from a lot of people who are trying to become an administrator is that it can be a very discouraging, frustrating time that, we didn't hire you because you don't have experience being a principal, but how do you get experience being a principal, right? And so I just want to talk to you a little bit about that and where you're at and how you're feeling about that and any advice you have for anybody.
Yeah, so let me start with what you just said, because clearly you've heard this before, and I'll reiterate it. I think that's the most frustrating thing is how do I get experience? If you're looking for experience, how do I get experience if no one's willing to give me the experience? And I guess, just talking personally for a second, we probably know some people who perhaps get into becoming a school administrator because maybe it's the money, but it may be just because they've been doing it for a while and it seems like the natural progression. I'm in my 12th year of teaching right now, but this is something that I've wanted to do since I started teaching. I can remember talking to my wife even when I began teaching my first year or two, and I said, I could really see myself being an administrator one day, or that's really what I want to do. And I've been doing what I think I need to do to prepare for that one day. And I know that there's nothing that can really prepare you. I don't want to sound naive here, and I also don't want to sound desperate, because that's not the thing. That's not my thing. But I just think that there's a lot of good to be done. And I think that I have a lot of great ideas, and I've seen, just again, speaking personally, I've seen success in the classroom. I've seen success now inspiring other teachers to really be great and to make their students great. And I want to bring that to, a school level on a broader scale. So yeah, it's a bit frustrating. Certainly I know, again, I do a whole podcast around the fact that educational leadership can be practiced by anyone, regardless of position or role or title. So I keep doing my thing as an instructional coach, and I know that what I'm doing is leadership, and it is important, and it is affecting change in my school. But I do want to take that leap and, get that experience and really lead some more wholesale change.
So what do you see as your competitive advantage or unique proposition that sets you apart from other people who may be applying in your area for principal jobs or school leadership positions?
All right. Now I feel like I'm in an interview. I am in an interview, but I mean like a job interview. No, it's a great question. So I just think for me, especially since I've become a super connected educator over the last 2 or 3 years, for me, it's all about disrupting and changing or going away from the status quo. And, certainly I've worked at 3 different schools in my time. I've seen where schools they get kind of stuck and, they're not moving fast enough. And, I think a lot of times our students are ready to move and change faster than we are. And so I think, again, speaking really personally and reflecting reflecting on my own strengths and what I think I offer and bring to the table personally is being a true change agent, disrupting the process and bucking the system and really trying to change the status quo and just to say, look, I have lots of new ideas, like things that have never been done before, at least not at any school that I've been at. And the fact that, listen, with me, you get not just me, you get the thousands of other educators on Twitter and on Voxer and that are meeting at conferences all around the country who I can reach out to very easily and very quickly, to the point where if there's something that I don't know, I can reach out pretty quickly to someone who will know and can help me and can help my school move forward with something that we want to do, an idea or a practice that we think will better our students and better our school.
Yeah, well, I think that's great. So how did you learn that was your strength that you bring to the table?
I think probably just this experience that I've gotten over the last 2+ years of being an instructional coach. When I first started, I found myself in a situation where, of course, I was confident that I could bring about change in my school, but I also felt, I guess for lack of a better term, inadequate, that here I was, a former classroom ELA teacher and reading interventionist, and now I was having to coach teachers in all subject areas in the whole school. I was like, I don't know if I can go up to a math teacher or Spanish teacher even and have them really accept my ideas. And so I sought out to just be like super, super resourceful, using any kind of resource, whether it be books or, Twitter, like I said, social media, other people, going to conferences, meeting people, just to learn as much as I could and grow myself first so that I can bring that back to the teachers that I work with and then help them grow and then help them get their students to grow. And so that's the journey that I've been on these last couple of years. And I don't see that changing if and when I do become an administrator, because not only is it fun, but man, I'm just learning so much.
Yeah, I like to call that learning in dog years. And people who've listened to my podcast have heard me say that many, many times. But that is truly the power of connecting, is that you could figure all this stuff out on your own in a silo, but when you're connected with others, then you can see real change happening faster and you can be part of it more effectively. So, I think about the teachers that I have worked with who have become those avant-garde people, the progressive educators, the ones who are like, I'm not satisfied that this system is working well enough for us and for our kids. And so I want to start changing things. And one of the common themes is that those people are connected on social media in a professional way, not just in a, tweeting about fantasy football, things like that, or celebrities. They're like really engaging in the conversation. And I've seen tremendous growth in those teachers, like you're talking about, things.
It's funny you say that. Sorry to cut you off. So this past, well, actually, it was about a year ago, I guess now, in March of 2017. It was the second year that I was planning on attending one of my local ed camps, Ed Camp Southwest Connecticut. It's about 40 minutes from my house. And if I had to take a guess, I'd probably say it was about the same, 40 to 45 minutes away from my school. And it was kind of a real test for me, not because I didn't think I'd be able to attend. I knew I wanted to attend. So the test, though, was to see if I could get other teachers from my school and my district to attend. So I sent out some emails and I was talking to, some of the teachers that I really thought would be receptive to, my invite, but also just the idea of taking a Saturday out of their own time and their own lives and, maybe potentially time away from spending with their families. And I was able to get 5 other teachers, 4 from my building, the middle school in my district, and 1 from one of our elementary schools. And I felt accomplished, I guess. And I felt great for myself, but I really felt just awesome for the teachers that came with me, that not only were they willing to come and believed in me and believed in the EdCamp model, but that they actually were learning and growing, and they all came out of that day with new ideas, and they still talk about it. And so I think, as we've said before about connecting and growing, like, it wasn't just about me and bringing these teachers there. It was about like opening their eyes and helping them turnkey that information to their students in their classes to help open their students' eyes to what other possibilities were out there for the teaching and learning process. It was really, really cool to be a part of.
Yeah, I love that. I love seeing people have their minds exposed to something that they just haven't seen. And when you do that, you hear other people sharing things and doing things, and it just becomes really amazing to see, well, that person did that. I wonder if I could do that. And like, what a different approach that makes than that you're starting to think, could I do that? Am I good enough, smart enough, whatever enough for me to be able to accomplish that? And then you realize there's nothing special about any of those other people. The difference is they're just sharing and you're not. And so you might as well start sharing, because then you'll be able to inspire other people also and do really cool things. And I just think that is a great opportunity for any educator. And obviously, if you're listening to this, you're like, yeah, we know, we do it. That's why we're listening to this podcast. But, I would encourage you to go invite others and do that as well, like Dan was saying, because that makes your impact bigger and it makes their impact bigger as well. And I just think that's such great advice. So, work that into your future real interviews. I think that'll be good.
Yeah, thanks. I had a funny story to share about what you were just saying in terms of, developing yourself, let's say outside of school hours, however that is, listening to podcasts or going to ed camps or getting connected on social media. So I had a student literally within the last week so I was covering a class. There was a teacher who was absent or maybe had a meeting, and I was covering a class, and a student, I don't remember what prompted him, but he asked me, he said, "Mr. Kreiness, is it like, do you do this, at home on weekends and when you get home from work?" And I said, "Yeah, I do. Like, I'm always thinking about teaching, and I'm always doing things to get better at teaching and helping the teachers that I work with. And I love what I do. And so whether it's connecting on social media or going to conferences, I've been starting to present more and more at conferences, or doing my podcast or listening to podcasts, which has been extremely fun and an amazing way to learn and grow from and with other people. That's what I do, even on my downtime. So yeah, I do. And then that's what I told the student, and I'm proud of it. I'm not ashamed to admit it, so it was funny that he asked me, but I think it just means that I sort of exude that about myself, that I'm just really committed to my job and committed to, just making education great.
Yeah. And that's a great way to be. So I appreciate your time. I want to ask you one final question, which is, what is something a principal can do this week to be a transformative leader like you?
Wow. So in thinking about it from as an outsider, let's say, since I'm not a principal, or at least not yet, I guess like my biggest thing is to just like really be, I'm not even going to say visible, just really be present. I've been thinking about that a lot more lately. And as an aspiring administrator, again, I probably easier said than done. I've not crossed over yet into that side of the profession, but being present and being visible and visiting classrooms. But even if you can't, or you don't have the time, active listening and just being there for people, having an open door and just being receptive to things that people are telling you or new ideas that they're coming at you with. I guess that's it. Just, being present and being visible and just being there for the people that that work for you and work with you.
Yeah, I like that idea. The idea of being present is a nice little buzzword, but then when you really think about what that actually means, if you haven't heard of The One Thing yet, then I suggest you go check out the One Thing podcast at the1thing.com. And it is just amazing. And in that podcast and in the book, they talk about being present. And what that really means is that you are 100% there with whatever you're doing. And it is amazing how challenging and difficult that is. And for me, one of the ways that I've started doing more of that is when I get home from work, I put my phone in my office and then I don't take it out again until from dinner time all the way until the kids go to bed. And usually that's not too long a time, but it's amazing how much more productive I am when I'm not distracted. It's amazing how much more my connection with my kids is. And it's awesome. So little things like that, those are really powerful. My assistant principal is great about not taking anything with her to go into classrooms so that she can't be distracted from what's happening in the classrooms. And it's awesome to see that. So Dan, thank you so much.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I also just wanted to add about the being present thing that you touched upon it. Like, I think that it really goes a long way in terms of task prioritization and time management, because, like for me, I'm an educator, I'm a father, a husband, I'm a doctoral student. Like there's a lot going on there. And I think if I was not completely present in the moment for doing any of those things, I wouldn't be able to do any of them even remotely close to the ability at which I'm able to. And it's all about just removing myself from some things and then completely immersing myself and just being all in on whatever it is that I am doing.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great closing thought. Can you tell us where people can connect with you and learn more from you?
Yeah, definitely. So I already mentioned the podcast is Leader of Learning, and it can be found really anywhere where someone prefers to listen to a podcast: iTunes, Google Play. We're on iHeartRadio, Stitcher, or TuneIn, anywhere. Website and blog is leaderoflearning.com, or for more information on the podcast itself, leaderoflearning.com/podcast. And then the best way to probably reach me personally would either be through email, dan@leaderoflearning.com, or Twitter and Voxer, where I'm at Kreiness, and that's DKREINESS.
Cool. And you can also go check out the show notes here at transformativeprincipal.org and just search for Dan in the Who Do You Want to Learn From search bar, and you'll be able to find all the links that we've talked about and everything, and some good book recommendations. So once again, Dan, thank you so much for being part of Transformative Principal.
Thanks a lot for having me on.
Thank you so much for listening to Transformative Principal. I hope that you have enjoyed this. I know that I have. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe to this podcast in iTunes or anywhere else you like to get your podcasts. Have a great week, and thank you for listening to Transformative Principal. Transformative Principal is a proud member of the Education Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators by educators. Visit edupodcastnetwork.com for more great podcasts.